Hold your stupid hand! Why would you do that, Lisa?
What? I thought that was a really cool thing to say.
Hello, welcome to YCFT. I'm just going to open up with an apology because I am full of cold. So the next couple of videos, I might just sound like crap. I might just drop down midway through. I have no idea. It's actually been a while since we recorded, which is quite cool.
It's been a little while.
Yeah, because we had to, for certain reasons, we had to batch record our last 7 videos over 2 days.
That was a big weekend.
So I feel like we've not recorded in ages. And this movie we did see back in February. We were thinking that I'll just do a quick animated review, but we felt like we wanted to give it a bit more of a discussion.
Yeah.
Especially considering not a lot of people seem to have seen it. We are talking about Lisa Frankenstein. Is the feature directorial debut of Zelda Williams, who is the daughter of the late great Robin Williams. I feel like anyone who talks about this, whenever you mention it, Zelda Williams, you can't not follow up with the daughter of Robin Williams. And it is written by Diablo Cody.
Yes.
I got her name right there.
Yes.
Who is very famous for writing Juno, Jennifer's Body.
Yeah. Yes.
And this, she has said, this is in the same world as Jennifer's Body.
Cool.
The Jennifer's Body extended universe.
Cool. I've not actually seen Jennifer's Body.
Oh, it's very good.
Much aware of it. But...
This film weirdly seems to have has the same fate as Jennifer's Body. Not a lot of people are going to see it. It has flopped.
Not done the best.
Not done the best. Like, we saw opening night in the UK. Sorry, I definitely interrupted you there.
I was questioning my grammar, which I know for a fact is incorrect. So, not done the best.
Not done the best. So yeah, we saw this opening night in the UK, which would have been about a month after it came out in the States, I think.
Yeah, I think so. There was a bit of a delay.
And there was 6 people in the cinema, including us. Straight up, we absolutely loved this film. So
Full disclosure.
you can probably click off right now if you just wanted to find out if we liked it. This film, it stars Catherine Newton as Lisa Swallows, which is a very unfortunate name.
Very Spitzel Swallows.
Character. She plays essentially a goth character who
She doesn't really start off as goth, I guess.
I think she's very into the macabre still.
She's very drawn to the macabre. Like, she, as a kid, she likes to hang out in cemeteries, and she doesn't really have a lot of friends. At this point in her life, she is also still getting over the murder of her mother. And her dad it's only 6 months later, he's remarried, so she has a new stepmom, she has a new stepsister, she's living in a different town to the one she grew up in, and life around her is moving on. But Lisa is obviously still very much traumatized by this thing. She was very close to her mum, as we learned. She has a very distant relationship to her dad. And she's just kind of exists in her own little world. Like, she likes horror movies, and yeah, she just likes anything that's kind of not... not stereotypical to what, a teenage girl in the 80s, I guess. She likes the weird.
So yes, this is set in the late 80s. Her stepmom is very much... She's a nurse, but she's very more of like a nurse Ratchet type of character.
Yeah, she's called Janet. She's played by Carla how do you pronounce the name? Gugino?
Gugino.
Oh, you like stellar actress that's doing like loads of horror stuff, works a lot with Mike Flanagan.
Yeah, she's...
Brilliant.
She's incredible. One night, her stepsister takes her to a party, and she gets drugged and walks back in a storm, essentially wishing that she could be with the person in this one gravestone that she keeps visiting, who has the last name of Frankenstein. And I am right, he is actually called Frankenstein, isn't he?
Do you know what? The more I think, because now we've watched it a few times, because she likes to do like the
etchings.
Yeah. I think, kind of similar to the creature, the name is a mixture of different surnames, different graves. I think the last name is Ein or Stein.
Yeah.
But I think the Franken is taken from other graves. I might be wrong in that. I don't know.
The creature is just referred to as the creature there. So she wishes that she could be with him, because she's got this fantasy of what he is. She likes to hang out and read in the cemetery. So the storm happens and brings him back to life.
I wish I was with you.
The film just kind of goes wild.
Yeah.
After that, and it's this like rom-com / almost buddy cop adventure of her trying to get him new parts.
Zomcom.
A zomcom, and
If you will.
the creature is played by Cole Sprouse, who was Cody from The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody, which I didn't clock until the second time I watched. I think he's big.
I can't believe that you didn't clock.
He's a child in Zack and Cody.
Yeah, that's fair.
It's probably the first time I've seen him, because I've not watched Riverdale. So it's my
Neither
first
have
time
I.
since The
Me too.
Sweet Life of Zack and Cody. And I was already starting to age out of those types of shows when that blew up.
Yeah,
Anyway, so I thought he was fantastic in this.
he's wonderful in this. Yeah,
Catherine Newton, we've been big fans of Catherine Newton ever since Freaky.
Catherine Newton is basically a scream queen. You know, I think she's a modern day scream queen. Yeah, first saw her in Freaky, loved her in that. She's in the new Abigail movie, and yeah, she's in this. So I hope she stays in horror. She's great. She's good at comedy and physical comedy.
Yeah.
But yeah, she's obsessed with this particular grave marker, and it has a bust of this man in life, and he doesn't have a name. He's just the Bachelor. And I love how the gravestone makes a point that he died unmarried. That is the most significant thing about this man. And yeah, he comes back. He goes to Lisa, and he initially he's incredibly dishevelled, and he smells because he's been in the grave for like 200 years. Died in 1837 specifically, so he's been in the ground for a while. And because she is drawn to the macabre, she's a little bit scared at first, and then immediately just kind of like becomes good friends with the guy and helps him kind of, acclimatize to, modern day. She helps dress him, she helps clean him. And he kind of just becomes like her closest friend, her closest companion very quickly. It's taken a dead man to come back in order, for her to like become a friend and to be a friend and to find someone who's willing to give her empathy and their time.
Diablo Cody has said that I think she was quite surprised that Zelda was attracted to this script, because the script is ultimately about grieving and being allowed to grieve. Because everyone within the film has moved on extremely quickly, and Lisa, she hasn't. She has not gotten over this, but she also feels like she's not allowed to just deal with what has happened. And obviously Zelda went through a very public grievance with her father, so I suppose that must be how she related to the script. And there's a couple of lines of dialogue within the film that really, really relate to her, which is incredibly well done. So having this character, because that's fair, he's missing a few parts. So he's missing his hand, his ear, his tongue, and something else, which we're not going to spoil the entire movie. Something else. Everyone else in her family is always telling her basically what she should be feeling, and doesn't really let her speak, doesn't let her express herself. So then this guy comes along who cannot speak, is basically can only listen through one side. So you notice an immediate change in her character, because for the first time she's been able to get her thoughts and feelings off her chest to someone who is willing to sit there and just listen. Yeah. And she goes, by the end, she is full Helena Bonham Carter. The transition, she starts off similarly to her character at the beginning of Freaky, and basically ends up being Helena. More elaborate. More goth, just more unhinged as well. And I think you said when we were watching this, it goes from one extreme to the other for like not barely expressive to almost too expressive. Like she hasn't found that filter in the middle yet. No.
It is really interesting. Just that thing you were saying before about, grief and how the character's not really been allowed to grieve. She says this line to the creature. Like they say that time heals all wounds, but that's not true. I think she says time is the wound.
They kept saying, time heals all wounds. But that's a lie. Time is the wound.
Because it takes you further and further away from that place and that time when you were happy. And that, it just kind of speaks to how she's really been feeling, and she's never been able to, to talk about this. But the creature, he not only listens, he enjoys listening to her. Like he just loves being with her. And yet there's one particular moment in the movie where he really does stand up for her, which is, I mean, we're going to spoil this, right? Do we talk about character deaths or do we not? Where?
I'm not sure with this scene, because so many few people will have seen this one.
Okay. He stands up for her in a way that has very deadly consequences for other characters. And it's this moment in particular that kind of sparks this very, physical, emotional change.
Oh, that? I thought you meant one later on. I think the first one we're fine to do.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So the creature kills her stepmother.
Yeah.
The creature kills Janet.
So stepmom basically seems to be out for a...
Oh, she hates her stepdaughter.
Hates her. Absolutely hates her.
She's the freaky one in the family. Like, she doesn't fit in.
Basically, he's trying to get her put in a mental asylum. And again, I love what she does with this character, where because she's a nurse, she feels like she's the good person. I'll save people. I'm an angel. Literally refers to herself as an angel.
Yeah.
Like, she is a demon. She is evil.
Also, talking about trauma and not being allowed to grieve, we learn that this character went through her own traumatic experience as a kid because her father was killed in Vietnam. And we get a glimpse, it's like a throwaway line of how, she wasn't really, she was told to move on about that. And I think that's clearly that explains a lot about how and who Janet has turned out to be. Clearly not being allowed to grieve when she was a kid has turned her into this absolute god-awful woman that now just detests her stepdaughter and just wants her own daughter and her new husband to live as, one big happy family in this not-so-perfect house.
Yeah. It comes not too long after Creature's come back. She's showered him. I love a good closet costume montage. So he stands up for her, kills stepmother, cuts her ear off.
Oh, yeah, because
that is the first piece that gets put back. Just sews it back on, realizes, oh, it's dead flesh. So puts him in this tanning bed, which belongs to her stepsister. But it's a bit temperamental. So when Lisa uses it at the beginning of the film, she gets electrocuted. So she uses that. Obviously, Frankenstein, lightning,
electricity. Yeah.
And that brings it back to life. He starts to look a little bit more alive. And that's, I have to tell the story of someone that was in our screening.
Yeah.
This happened at several points through the film, and afterwards the creature's always noticeably a bit more alive. I think after, it was the final time, so it was the third time, this woman behind us just said, oh, every time he's a bit more alive. And I was like, oh my God, that's the bit, that's the movie. That is the movie.
But it's not even there's subtle differences. It's every time he goes on the tanning bed, he noticeably becomes a little bit more human. The bags under his eyes goes, the sunkenness of his face, it starts off being zombie-like and much more skeletal to just a nice looking guy that Cole Sprouse is. It's the noticeable changes. I don't know how she missed that. It was hilarious. It's just how loud she was in the cinema as well.
That was very funny.
Anyway,
I also just want to give props to Cole for this. I know he trained with a mime, didn't he? Because he's essentially mute throughout this entire film. Yeah. So it's a lot in his physical performance. And I think he took a lot from Hocus Pocus.
Yeah, I see that. Are you thinking of Billy Butcher?
I am.
We love Billy. We fucking love Billy.
Yeah.
Cole Sprouse is better looking than Billy Butcherson.
Oh, yeah. So I think he definitely took a lot from that. And,
the gentleman zombie.
Yeah. Something that has just crossed my mind here, just, again, thinking about characters expressing, grief and emotions. Especially around this time, I think it wasn't common for male characters to express feelings as much as we do today, for example. And whenever this character cries, whenever the creature cries, his tears stink. Every time he starts to express, he's literally bombarded with, oh my God, this thing, stop. So he's literally...
Stop crying.
I don't know, I just found that quite interesting.
It is. But he's also, the guy's a softie from the get-go. Something I really loved in the movie, I love it every time I see it, the opening credits. I love it when credits tell a story. We have this beautiful animation style, don't we? It's very kind of like Corpse Bridesy, animation Tim Burton-y. And we learn the story of the bachelor, of the creature, of who he was in life. And we learn that he fell in love. We learn that he was a pianist. We learn that maybe at one time his love was reciprocated. And then I think it shows that she kind of spurns him because she ends up falling for this other man. And so the bachelor gets very depressed, and then it's not long after that he dies. So he dies heartbroken, essentially. And the way that he is just so openly affectionate with Lisa, the way that he's just, from the moment he's back, his whole new existence is just committed to fighting in, her corner. It's just really precious. It is genuinely a really warped, romantic, I don't know, it's a really nice romantic story. Because to me, anyway, I love this.
Well, basically, the creature is friend-zoned for the majority of the film.
Yeah. She's
initially off-put because he is dead. Because she says to him, when I said I wanted to be with you, I meant in the ground.
I meant, dead. Not on...
And she's very much into somebody else, and it's one of those typical romantic tales where you don't realise that the person you're looking for was with you.
Was there
the entire time. Yeah. But they have such good chemistry.
Oh, yeah. And again, it's Cole Sprouse, again, the miming is great. It's kind of Buster Keaton-esque in a way, and especially at the end when he's got his braces on and stuff. But he's very good at he's very expressive. And I guess you have to be when, you don't have a lot of dialogue. But there are these occasional grunts that he does, and like these little noises to kind of express his discontent, or yeah, it's like they're in bed together, and she starts talking about how she doesn't want to die a virgin. She's not scared of death, but she doesn't want to die a virgin, and she's I want to have sex with a man I truly love, I really love. And he kind of looks at her a bit excited, and then she names this other guy, and the creature is just. Yeah, just the disappointment.
You know what it reminds me of? You know Companion Zombie from Dead Snow 2? The noises that he made, yeah.
Yeah.
Anyone saw a video on that will know what I mean.
Oh, yeah. Love
The
that guy.
bracelet, the suspenders that you were mentioning, they are rainbow suspenders, which apparently is a nod to Robin Williams. I think it's his character Mork wears them. I just want to also give this film props. One thing, its soundtrack is incredible.
Oh, God.
I've had that song by Galaxy 500. It's stuck in my head
Oh, man.
for weeks.
We've got When in Rome. We've got Echo and the Bunnymen. We've got REO Speedwagon. Like, this is a banging soundtrack.
Yeah. They are going to release a vinyl of it, and we are getting that vinyl. It's incredible.
Yeah.
The 80s aesthetic is spot on. It looks amazing. Then there's little bits of just weirdness that I like. Like, I like that a stepsister, for some reason, has some AstroTurf on the front of my car.
I didn't even notice.
Yeah, it has like a little Hawaiian garden, because she's like, that wasn't that part of her like pageantry. It was like the Hawaiian theme. So it's like it's part of the style of. I want to get to a stepsister.
Yeah, sure.
In a little bit. There's a reason we have Creature from the Black Lagoon here. She looked like the film. Obviously, it takes a lot from like various Frankenstein adaptations, but also a little bit from Creature from the Black Lagoon. And she has the poster on the wall. She has a drawing of the creature's face above her bed. It's like it's one of her favorite movies. Oh, and I just remembered the other inspiration for Cole, or like for the design and movement of the creature. It was the zombie from Day of the Dead, which is also playing on one of the TVs in the film.
Oh, it is. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Also, I guess like when you think of the plot of Creature from the Black Lagoon, that is all about unrequited love.
Yeah. The end film looks incredible, sounds incredible. When very early on in the film, when she just gets spiked and the storm, it's a green storm specifically, but her journey from the party back home looks amazing. It's so trippy when you've got that incredible soundtrack going on in the background. There's almost something stage-like about it, and I remember, because that's, like I said, it's very early on in the film, and in the theater I was like, I am so into this. The film is not what I expected to be at all, but we've watched it twice now, and I've adored it. Mm-hmm. And it just saddens me that not enough people have seen this, and I recently got back into making shorts, and that would have been a couple of weeks ago, and instantly it did pretty well, and a lot of people come in saying, I don't want to sleep on this movie, I want to try and watch this movie.
Yeah.
And anyone who has seen it seems to really like it.
Yeah. I feel like as many as there are people out there saying, oh, yeah, it's, it's over, I don't really get it, or, like, oh, it's just, like a cheap little rom-com, whatever, it doesn't really work, it's not funny, it's not scary. I also think that there's just as many people, if not more, that are actually like, no, this is a really good movie.
Yeah.
Because I have seen a lot of reviews on it, for it even. And I feel like our crowd, like the horror crowd out there, are seeing what Zelda has done and what Diablo has done with the script and with the movie. And it is like, it's a very specific thing, because it's not just horror, it's not just comedy. Like, this is not a film that is sets out to scare you. More than anything, it is a comedy, but it's also a romance. And I like seeing that a lot of people right off the bat are like, oh, it's kind of like Heathers, from the 80s, like with Winona Ryder, which is also, a very darkly, like, horror romance kind of thing set in a high school. And people are seeing, drawing on similarities to other, like, darkly toned films. And, even back when those films came out, people didn't really quite know how to react to them. So the audience for this movie is there. I just don't feel like enough people have seen it yet. But I think everyone is kind of, well, most people are sort of unanimous in that, like, in 10 years, this movie will be considered a cult classic.
Just like Jennifer's Body.
We just need more people to find it and discover it. But yeah, it's like, if you get what Zelda and Diablo were going for, then there's so much to enjoy.
Yeah. I think you can absolutely tell that Zelda's grown up with the likes of Tim Burton. Because another one, like, after, like, kind of at the end of the trippy scene, suddenly it goes, like, black and white, like card cutouts. You've got it. What is it? It's the French. Was it a day trip to the moon or something like that? You know, when the spaceship gets caught. She's got that poster as well, which I really like. But then that is like playing through a window. She has a wig on that is very reminiscent of the Bride of the Bride of Frankenstein. And she sat next to the creature, but at this point, he's still his tombstone, so he's got like a stone head, and it's so weird. And I'm like,
yeah. Well,
for some reason, I've got really big Frankenweenie vibes. Have you ever seen that one? The Tim one? Yeah.
It also, like, she mentions The Cure a lot, the band. Like, she's a big fan of The Cure. And that whole sequence, that dream sequence, kind of feels like it could easily be a music video for that band.
I do love what she's like, oh, I have The Cure, and he holds up like his thumbs. And no, it can't cure that.
Well, they can. But
it's
like emotion.
I have the cure.
Ooh.
Oh. No. It's not that kind of cure. It's like it's a band.
Emotionally, they can cure you. Should we talk about Taffy?
Taffy, yeah.
Stepsister.
I really like what they did with her her character, because it's not usually expecting to be like, but because they are very different. But she does want to integrate her into the family.
She loves Lisa. So going back to, chatting about stepmom and Janet just wants it to be herself. She wants it to be her husband, and she wants it to be her own biological daughter, Taffy, just living together in this absurdly pink house. She wants to just forget Lisa.
Would their house fit in Edward Scissorhands?
Oh my God, absolutely. I mean, like, I think in Edward Scissorhands are all bungalows, aren't they? This one is like 2-tier, but it's that sort of thing, pastel. And Janet is just like, well, she is a nurse, but she also very, prides herself on how pristine her house looks. But yeah, Taffy, usually you would expect the stepsister to also be horrible to Lisa and very unwelcoming, and, for them to butt heads, because they are two very different people. Where Lisa is really into, like, the weird and the mysterious and the paranormal and the macabre, Taffy is a cheerleader, and she's stunning, and initially presented as maybe like a bit of an airhead, like not falling into that stereotype of the pretty cheerleader who's not very intelligent. But you learn very quickly that Taffy actually really loves Lisa. She stands up to her mum when her mum is bullying Lisa. She does sincerely look out for her. She does care for her sister. I guess the main reason why Lisa doesn't necessarily feel the same connection to Taffy right away is because Taffy, at the end of the day, yes, she really wants Lisa to fit in, but she is kind of more concerned with moulding Lisa into
someone that can fit in.
Yeah, it's not so much like, oh, Lisa, let your freak flag fly, be whoever it is you want to be and screw everyone else. She's like, Lisa, she does tell her, like, that's a bit weird. Do your hair like this? Or, do your makeup like this? And boys like this. So it is friendly, and it is coming from a good place. But I do feel like that's ultimately why Lisa Lisa finds that friendship with the creature that she can't find with Taffy.
So there's one line that I really like, or one moment that I quite like, where Taffy, she's going through something which, in fact, like, obviously Mother is killed, despite she believes that she's missing.
Yeah. When
they get to school, she kind of something means that she just has to go. She can't deal with it, so she has to make, can someone give Lisa home? And they all just kind of like they really don't want to. At least can tell, I'll walk. But then even then, even though she's clearly distressed, she still has that thought of, oh, can someone get my sister home?
Yeah, she can.
And I really like that.
She's a caring person.
Obviously, they do have a clash at one point in the film, but I just think they could have written her so stereotypically, and I'm just glad that they chose not to. It's just a more realistic character.
I also think it's
good performance as well.
Very good performance. Taffy's portrayed by Lisa Soberano, but I think it speaks a lot about the fact that this film is written and directed by women.
Yeah,
women know how to write female relationships and healthy female relationships. You can tell.
Yeah.
It's like, actually, stepsisters it doesn't have to be a toxic thing, actually. You can have a very loving relationship there and a loving friendship. Do you have any, not major, but any criticisms of the movie? Does it fall down anywhere for you, or? Maybe
the occasional bit of pacing. Maybe I would have personally liked a few more bodies.
But
that's fair. They are. This isn't even a criticism. I love how they are actually. They're good at killing, but they're terrible criminals. It's one of the things from the very beginning. They are not going to get away with this.
Yeah.
So that is not a criticism at all. I really like. I just would have liked a bit more. Like maybe if the creature was missing a foot initially as well, just so there's an excuse to kill
more people,
to kill a few more.
Like if the parts that they were taking were maybe like significant, because like obviously he needs the bits that he needs.
Yeah.
But if they were targeting the people specifically, there is one kill
that is specific. The hand.
Hand.
That
like,
is
he was
specific.
going to do bad things with that hand. He'd already started.
That's one of my favourite scenes in the entire movie.
We talked about there's one person that actually isn't killed.
I think it's hinted at that it might have happened off screen.
But I think it would have been cool to have seen it if your theory is correct. And if so, there's a character that hates Lisa. Also potentially like a rival to this boy that she likes, and is gobby as hell, like horrible kind of bitchy high school character. And wouldn't it have been cool if the creature killed him for the tongue so he could finally speak? Because again, like this girl just doesn't shut up, like chatting shit about Lisa. It would have been like really cool, like symbolically, if he'd have taken the tongue away from her. But anyway, I love this movie, if you can't already tell. We kind of touched on it earlier. It's not even really a criticism. I don't want to call it that, but how quickly she changes. It is literally like blink of an eye.
Yeah.
Like before her stepmom is killed, she is getting a little bit more confidence because of the friendship with the creature. But as soon as he does kill Janet, we go from, timid, meek Lisa to full-on goth.
Yeah.
Like, let's burn the world together, Lisa.
Yeah.
And it is, I understand, like, it's a film, like, you gotta, keep it up and you gotta speed things along, but maybe, like, would have appreciated a little bit more of a...
He once had to sew the ear on, it's just, no, I simply can't. We have to move the body first.
Yeah.
I was kind of like gleeful about it.
No, I can't. I can't do that. Not until we bury the body.
I just keep thinking of like Catherine Newton's performance in this, like the flailing limbs and so dramatic. Oh, it just works in so many ways, and it's so many things that she did in Freaky that have carried over that I just really, really like. But I do, maybe a little bit, maybe just because no one has properly stood up for her, or gave her any attention. So remember, this is about. It's the day after, so she's been able to talk to somebody a little bit, and maybe that's it. Just that one little inkling of support, and suddenly she's just like, she's away with the fairies at this point. Like, that's all she needed to be her true self, was just for someone to give her an inkling of support.
Totally, I think she is a character, like we said earlier. Like she kind of is in her own little world. Like even with the guy that she likes, so I think he's called Michael. She kind of like plays out this relationship that doesn't really exist in her own head. Like she kind of like runs away with the fantasy of this.
She has this
guy.
fantasy version of him.
Yeah, but again, it's like you're saying, it's because she's not really had the opportunity to experience a lot of this stuff because for the last couple of years she's just been so traumatized by her mum. She's kind of like growth, I guess, has been stilted.
Yeah.
In a weird way. And again, she's not had the people around her to feel confident enough to express herself. So yeah, she does live a lot inside her own head. But I really do love the movie. It's an absurd film. Like there are so many like wacky moments in it. I mean, I think most people, even if you've not seen it, probably gather that there's like a scene where a piece of an anatomy.
Oh flies. Push your boundaries, that one for the id rating.
Yeah, I was trying to think how to word that one. It's really well done. We're not going to spoil the ending. We don't want to give away exactly.
Yeah. Just because it's clear by the box office. I think it made less than 10 million globally, which that's just tragic. And I think it had a budget of about 13 million. So by this point, it should be on streaming. So hopefully more people will have seen it. But we don't want to spoil that.
It's very well made. It's very well directed. Like we said earlier, it has a very specific tone that is reminiscent of the more kind of dark comedies, dark romances that we got in the 80s. If this was actually made in the 80s, for a fact Winona Ryder would have been cast.
Oh, absolutely.
Like this would have been Winona's film.
Even going into like the 90s, like I said, this to me, if this was a Tim Burton project, it would make complete sense.
Yeah.
Like you can see his influence.
Yeah. And I've seen a few people criticize the 80s in it, that they think that the 80s has been a bit overdone, or it didn't do the 80s, you know, like it's done the 80s a disservice. I don't know what the fuck they're talking about. Like, I didn't grow up in the 80s, but like I watched this movie and I'm like, this is the 80s. This is clearly 1989. So I don't understand where that criticism is coming. I think people are nitpicking.
I think people are just kind of done with the 80s.
Yeah.
It's interesting because obviously we are now slowly moving into more things being set in the 90s.
Yeah.
So within a few years, the amount of things set in the 80s is probably going to reduce quite a bit. I think especially once the likes of Stranger Things is done.
Speaking of Stranger Things, the guy that plays
Lisa's dad, he's
Joe Crest. He's also the dad in Stranger. You know, like the dad in Stranger Things. The one that just like sits around reading.
He's basically the same character.
He's just the same man. Yeah.
Yeah. Have you got any more notes on this one?
No, I don't think I do. I really do love it. I knew from the trailer when it first was released I was going to enjoy this. If I was little and if I saw this, if I was a kid, I would have been obsessed with this movie. This is a movie that little Sam would have just adored and watched all the time.
If I was in high school and there was a girl like Lisa there, I absolutely would have let her kill me.
You like the goth girls?
Oh, when I was younger, especially emo David would have been absolutely beside himself.
You would have lost a part of your anatomy.
Yeah, I don't know what part, but I would have lost. I would have lost something. I would have just let her do it. Yeah, I also really, really enjoyed it. I already can't wait to own this on Blu-ray, get the soundtrack, and just tell more people to watch it.
It's just more people need to see it.
All right, well, thanks a lot, guys. We hope you enjoyed this one, and we will see you next week.